Good afternoon. In today's lecture, we will be seeing the last topic of Unit 3, and this is also the last functionality of network layer that we will be studying in our syllabus. So, with respect to network layer, we have studied till now the different services or functionalities offered by it. So, if we go back to the syllabus of your network layer, or basically if we just see the subtopics in network layer, we will understand the different functionalities. So first we studied about the switching techniques, and we know that the network layer has two types of switching techniques. One is the circuit switching and the other is the packet switching. After that, we understood about the concept of logical addressing, and by that it is known that network layer uses IP addresses, and IP addresses are basically your logical address. In the topic logical addressing, we studied about the different IP protocols. So we studied IPv4, IPv6, and then the network address translation NAT and the subnetting concept, that is the concept of subnetting. Then the third functionality of your network layer is tunneling. Tunneling, how the data passes through tunneling. Suppose if you have two different kind of networks, then we use the process of tunneling. Then the next topic was fragmentation, or the next service provided by the network layer is fragmentation, the division of the data into fragments. Then we studied about congestion control. In this, we had the token bucket and the leaky bucket algorithm. Then lastly, that is the previous topic was internet control protocols, in which we studied about the address resolution protocol, the reverse address resolution protocol, then BOOTP and DHCP. So these were the four protocols we have studied in the network layer. Now, in the last topic, we will be studying about the network routing algorithms. So basically, how in the network layer the delivery is done, what is forwarding, and what do you mean by routing tables, and what kind of protocols are used to deliver the packet from one router to another router, then to the destination from a given source. So along with that routing protocol, we will also study about the gateway protocol. So basically the topics that you have studied in the network layer are all these functionalities or the services provided. So these topics that I have written over here are the functionalities or the services provided by the network layer. So first and foremost, we will get to know the basic definition of each of these topics, and then we will proceed further. So first we have delivery. Now what do you mean by delivery? Delivery refers to the way a packet is handled by the network which is under the control of the network layer. Basically, delivery can be said as the handling of the packet and how it reaches the destination from the given source. Next, we have forwarding. What do you mean by forwarding? It refers to the way a packet is delivered to the next station. So suppose you have a source and a destination, and in between you have different routers or different systems or nodes, if you want to say in the computer network language. Then in this case, how does a packet reach from the source to the next router or node, then to another router until it reaches the destination? That is known as forwarding. After that, we have the terms routing. Now, what do you mean by routing? Basically, is routers that you have are simply specialized computer systems. So they themselves will have the CPU, they'll have some kind of memory, etc. So they are specialized systems, computer systems, which will have their own memory, their own operating system, and also they will have the processing unit, etc. Now, in the case of the router, what does a router do? The basic task or functionality of a router is to create a routing table. Now, what is a routing table? How the delivery of packets. So, suppose if the source is connected to multiple routers, so one system is connected to multiple routers, then when it is sending the message from the sender to the receiver, which router should it select? Or this router R1 will be connected to another hundreds of routers. So this router R1, to which router it should pass the next message? Should it pass to R2, R6, R8, etc. So in this case, we create routing tables to help in the concept of forwarding. So forwarding basically uses the routing tables. Now, what are these routing protocols? They are used continuously to update the routing table. So the routing protocols are used to update the routing table. So basically, each of them is helping. So the routing protocols are used for updating the routing tables. The routing tables are used for forwarding, and forwarding at the end is basically delivering of the packet to the receiver or the destination. Okay, so these are the different concepts of different services of the network layer, which we will be studying in this lecture. So basically, whenever we are talking about the network routing algorithm, the first and foremost thing we have to know is delivery. So the network layer supervises the handling of the packets by the underlying physical network. We define this handling, that is how the network layer is sending a packet from the source to the destination, that is known as the delivery of a packet. Now, when we are talking about the delivery of a packet, we will have two types of delivery. The first will be the direct delivery, and the other will be the indirect delivery. So, why are we talking about direct delivery and indirect delivery? So in the case of direct delivery, the final destination of the packet is a host connected to the same physical network. That is, you have a network, suppose A. In this A only, you have both the source and the destination of the source of the packet and the destination of the packet. So this kind of delivery, where your destination, the final destination of your packet is connected into the same physical network as host. So host or the sender is the same thing. Destination or the receiver is the same thing. Okay. So whenever I'm referring a host, it means the one who is sending the packet. So basically, in this case, the final destination of the packet is a host connected to the same physical network as the deliverer. Direct delivery occurs when the source and the destinations of the packet are located on the same physical network, or when the delivery is between the last router and the destination host. So how can a sender determine whether it is direct delivery or not? How is the host determining that? It can check the network address of the destination. So what it will do, check network address of destination. Using what, how will it do that? It will use the mask. The mask concept which we have already studied, it will use the mask and compare the address with the address of the network to which it is connected. So when you are creating a subnet, it will use the masking it will use masking, and that masks are used to check whether the network it is to which it is connected and the address of the destination is the same or not. If the match is found, then it is a direct delivery. Now, what will happen in the case of indirect delivery is, if the destination, so suppose you have your sender in A and the receiver in B, and these are connected by different routers. So we have R1 here, R2, and R3. Basically, we have routers in between the networks to communicate. So if the destination is not on the same network as the deliverer or the sender, the packet is delivered indirectly. Now, what happens in the indirect delivery? The packet goes from a router to another router to another router until it reaches the one connected to the same physical network as the final destination. So if you will have routers even inside the network, right? So until it reaches the router which is inside the network, it will keep on traveling from one router to another. So basically this kind of delivery is indirect delivery. So whenever you're talking about the term delivery, it always has one direct delivery and zero or more indirect delivery. Now what about this one? Why will it have only one direct delivery? Because suppose if it is on the same network, it is the one direct delivery. If it reaches the router inside the network, then from the router to the destination, it will have one direct delivery. But what about this indirect delivery, zero or more indirect delivery? Basically, so suppose if we have from over here to here, if we have in this direct delivery, we won't have any indirect delivery. But in the case of indirect delivery, we will have one direct delivery, and how many ever hops that it is occurring, how many ever hops are occurring from one router to another, those will be the number of indirect delivery. And always the last delivery is the direct delivery. From the router in the network to the destination, that delivery is always the direct delivery. So these are the different terminologies. So here if you notice, from the host, if it is in the same network, we have a direct delivery, and to another network, what will happen? From the router to the rest of the internet also, it will be a direct delivery. But what about the indirect delivery? Suppose if we are sending from a host or the source to another destination, then in that case, is basically the system will perform an indirect delivery to a router, and the router then will perform a direct delivery if it is in the network. So this router is connected to this network, right? So it can perform a direct delivery. So this is the example of direct and indirect delivery. Now we will come to the next topic, which is forwarding. Forwarding means basically to place the packet in its route to its destination. So as I said already, suppose if we have routers in between from one source to destination, then when the router is passing from one router to another, that concept is known as forwarding. Forwarding requires a host or a router to have a routing table. As I said, it will have to maintain a routing table where it will have the destination column and the route column. So destination will be mentioned where the packet has to, where is the destination, and the route will have how to reach this destination given. So when a host has a packet to send, or when a router has received a packet to be forwarded, it looks at this routing table, so this routing table, to find the route to the final destination. So whenever we are talking about the forwarding techniques, we have actually different techniques which can make the size of the routing table manageable and also handle issues such as security. So we have different methods. Suppose we have the next hop method and the route method. The two of them can be compared. And then we have the network specific method and the host specific method. Now, what is this next hop method? One technique to reduce the contents of the routing table is basically this next hop method. So in this next hop method, what will happen is the routing table only holds or has the address of the next hop only. Suppose if we are moving from router 1, and what are the different options available from router 1? We may have router 2 to 10. Then again from router 2, we will have options from router 11 to 20. Then in this case, in the next hop method, the R1, the router 1 will contain the routing table where it has the route as R2, R3. That is, it will have only the next hop or the next router. Then again in the routing table of 2, it will have these rest of these routers. Okay, so this is the next hop method. We will have an example in the next slide. Instead of the information, while in the root method, what will happen is we will have a complete route. Suppose if your sender has to send from use the route from sender or the source, then it has to pass through R1, then R3, then R8, then R14 to the destination. Then the route method will have this complete route in the routing table. Now, what is the network specific method? The second technique here is the network specific method. Here what will happen is, instead of having an entry for every host, that is, suppose if you have a network, in that network you will have multiple hosts, right? All the computers in that network are referred as hosts. So here we will have a network. In the network specific method, we will just have the address or the route to the network. We won't have the route to the individual host. But in the host specific method, we will have the route in the routing table of the individual host. So in the network specific method, basically what will happen is, once the packet reaches the router which is connected to this network, again over here it will have the individual host routes. Okay, so you may have host A, B, C, D. In this router only, it will have the route to the individual host. But all the other routers will only have the route of the network. So suppose this is the network N1, then all the other routers will only have the route to the network N1. But inside the network, what hosts are there or what systems are there will not be known by all the other routers. A router which is connected to the network will only know what other hosts are there in the network. In the host specific method, what will happen is, each and every host which is present in the network will have a route. So basically, if we have 1000 hosts attached to the same network, then in the case of network specific method only, we will have one network route only. And in the case of host specific method, we will have the route to all the 1000 hosts available. So now let's see the example. So routing table based on route is over here. So for suppose if we have this network in which it has a host A, and there is another network, and then we have the third network which has the host B. In between we have router R1 and R2. Now what will happen? The routing table for host A will have, for host, if the destination is host B, then the route will be, it will have to pass through R1, R2, and then host B. Now routing table for R1, suppose if the packet has reached R1, then it will have to pass through R2, then host B. Then the routing table for R2, if the destination is host B, then the route is from R2, it will go to the host B. Now routing table based on next hop is basically host B. I am talking about next hop now. That is only one. The next router hop is basically here router. So here, if I'm talking about the routing table for host A, if the destination is host B, the next hop, where should the packet go next? It will go to R1. So it will simply save R1 in the next hop. So you can see the difference. Here we have the complete route. Here we only have the next hop. Now what about the routing table for R1? For the destination B, it will have only the next hop. So from R1, it knows it has to go to R2. And what about routing table for R2? The destination is host B, and directly it will reach the destination. So it does not have any next hop. So this is the route method versus the next hop method. Then we have host specific method versus the network specific method. So suppose we have in network S N1, we have a host S, and in network N2, we have different hosts A, B, C, D. Now these two networks are connected by the router R1. For the host specific method, what will happen? Suppose if the destination is A, the next hop will be R1. If the destination is B, R1. Similarly for all them. For the network specific method, it will simply say that the destination is N2. All the hosts in the N2 will come in this destination only, and it will see write R1 as your next hop. So these are the differences between host specific method versus the network specific method routing table. So routing table, as you see, is for efficiently forwarding the packets, and based on that also we will have the routing table, that is to make them manageable. And for also the security issues, we use different kind of methods. We may use host specific method, network specific method, next hop method, or root method.
Another technique to simplify routing is called the default method. So in the default method, if you notice in this diagram, we have a host A connected to two routers, which is R1 and R2. And these two routers, the router R1 is connected to another network N2, while the router R2 is connected to the rest of the internet. Whenever we are sending packets from host A, which is connected to network 1 to network 2, then in this case, what will happen is we use the router R1. So if the destination is N2, the next hop is R1. And if the destination is any other device on the internet apart from the network 2, then we will be using the router 2. So basically here, instead of listing all the other networks in the entire internet, we are just listing one entry. Okay. And that one entry is called the default router. This default router is defined with the network address as 0.0.0.0. So this is the default router. And instead of having a huge table with all the listings, what we do is we try to have a default router or a default network address with all zeros, which connects to all the other hosts or all the other systems on the internet. Now we will learn how the forwarding process is done. So how is the forwarding process done in the routers? So we assume that the host and the routers both, host and the routers, both of them use classless addressing. So, and also we consider the classful addressing as special case of this classless addressing. And in classless addressing, the routing table needs to have one row of information for each block. So basically, we will have the mask, network address, next hop address, and interface. And here, whenever the packet is being sent, the destination address is extracted and it is searched in your network address in the search table. From there, you will get the next hop address and the interface, which is again forwarded to the address resolution protocol to be sent to the next hop or the next router. So here, we will be seeing an example for the same. So in classless addressing, we need at least 4 columns in the routing table. One of them is the mask, the network address, the next hop address, and the interface to which the router which is connected to which interface is given in the interface column. Now, let's see an example. So here we are creating a routing table for the router R1 using the configuration. Let's see the configuration. So this is the router R1 for which we have to create a routing table. Now this, let's first see the figure clearly. So the router R1 is connected to 3 interfaces or 4 interfaces actually. M3 is missing, M0, M1, M2 and M3. These 4 interfaces are connected to 4 different networks. So first is this 180.70.65.128 and the next is 201.4.16.2. This /25/22 is the mask. Then the next network is 180.70.65.192 and 201.4.22.0. So here, to create a routing table, first we have to have 4 columns. So I'll just write this over here roughly. Then in the next slide, we can have the routing table clearly. So first column will have a mask. Then we will have the network address. Then the next hop and the interface. Now, first and foremost, you need to write the mask. So for here, we have the mask 26. So /26. So I'm starting with this. So /26. What is the network address? The network address is 180.75.65.192. So this is the network address. This is a host in this network. This .200/26 is a host. So we will write this network address over here in the first row. Then what will be the next hop? Because it is directly connected to the router R1, we won't have any next hop. This place will be left blank. And what is the interface to which this network is connected? It is connected to M2. So we will be writing M2 over here. Similarly, we will fill the rest of the rows. So let's just see a clear table. So the routing table for this router is, first we have written the mask 26 with the network address as follows. Since there is no next hop, we have left the space blank and it is M2. Now for the next column, for the next row, if we are choosing the mask as 25, then what will be the network address? It is 180.70.65.128. So let's see the next row. Yes, it is the same thing. And since it is directly connected, we won't have any next hop and the interface is written M0. Then for 24, the mask 24 and 22, we will have the same thing and the network addresses are mentioned respectively with the interfaces. Now, what about the rest of the internet? So suppose if here, if the router R1 wants to access some other computer or some other network in the internet apart from these 4, then what will it do? It will go through this interface M2, it will pass this network and this network is connected to the rest of the internet. So if you notice in the last column, it is written any, that is if it is of any other mask apart from this and any other network address, then what you have to do, you have to pass through this 180.70.65.200, that is the next hop is this one as given in the figure. So we have to pass through this and it will be we may be connected to the rest of the internet. So for any other mask apart from these 4 and for any other network address apart from these 4, the next hop is given as follows. So now show that the forwarding process, if the packet arrives at R1 in the figure that we have just seen with the destination address 180.70.65.140. So first and foremost, what you will do is you will apply the first mask. What is the first mask in your table? The first mask is 26. So we will apply this mask to our address given 180.70.65.140 in the question. To this, we will apply the mask 26. When we apply the mask 26, what will happen? We will get the resultant network. What is the resultant network we will get? We will get 180.70.65.128. How do we apply the mask? Basically, we write 26 once and we will convert this IP address into the binary form and we will write the mask in the following way. That is, we will write 26 once and what will be the remaining? Yeah, so there will be six remaining zeros and we will perform AND operation and this is the network address that we will get. We will match it with the corresponding network address given in the first row. Is it matching? No. So what? We will move on to the second mask. For the second mask, we will apply it to the destination address and we will get the same thing. So that is the next hop address and the interface number we get from this, and we will pass it to ARP. So we will pass the interface and the next hop to ARP for further processing. So when we pass it to ARP, the address resolution protocol will try to get the MAC address and forward the packet to the specified host. So in this case, the same thing is written over here. You can just pause the slide and check the answer once. Now, in this case, the same kind of question, we have just changed the destination address. So the destination address over here is 201.4.22.35. Now, in this case, again, we will follow the same process. That is, we will first apply the mask 26, check whether we are getting the resultant network address, which is in the first row. No. Then we will check the second mask. Again, we won't be getting. In the third mask, that is when you apply 24, we will get the network address which matches the corresponding network address in our table. So we will pass the interface destination address of the packet and the interface number to our address resolution protocol, which will look for which will try to resolve and send the packet to the specified destination. And again, similarly, we have another third example where we have the forwarding process if the packet arrives at the given destination address. Now, if you notice, in the given destination address, it won't match any of the masks. So by the time all the masks are applied one by one to the destination address, but no matching network address is found. So what it will do, it will check for the last row of our table. So when it reaches the end of the table, the module gives the next hop address. That is here in this case, if you notice in our diagram, it is some system, some host on the network, on the rest of the internet. So it will pass through this. So R1 will send it to this router, and then again it is given to the rest of the internet, where it will the next router will have to look for pass it to the address resolution protocol. So this is the procedure with respect to any other system or any other IP address which is given, which is not in our routing table. So this is the default method and the forwarding process that we have seen. Now we will see at the types of routing table. The two types of, whenever we are discussing routing tables, so a host or a router has a routing table with an entry for each destination, right? Or combination of destinations to route the IP packet. So the routing table can be either static routing or dynamic routing. So first and foremost, we will look at the static routing. So a static routing table is created, maintained and updated by a network administrator manually. So static means there is no change unless a person or the administrator is changing the routing information in the table. And a static route to every network must be configured on every router for full connectivity. So what it does is it provides the control over the routing by the network administrator. But suppose if we have large networks, it becomes impractical, because for every so suppose if we have a router with router connectivity with 1,000 routers or more than 10 or 12 routers, then it will become impractical. That is, the network administrator can't look for each and every route. So in the case of static routing, the routers will not share their routes with each other. So that will reduce the CPU usage. We already know that routers are basically special kind of systems which have their own CPU, RAM, and also the speed at which they are sending the data to each other. So that will be saved because the routers in this case will not share anything with each other. However, static routing is not fault tolerant. What does that mean? Is basically, suppose if the router is down or if we have added a new router, then all the routing, then there should be a change in all the routing tables. Or basically what you are saying is all the routers need to be updated manually if suppose a router is down. So there is an occurrence of fault in the case of static routing. Now what happens in dynamic routing? A dynamic routing table is created, maintained, and updated by a routing protocol running on the router. So we use routing protocols which are created, maintain, and create, maintain, and update the dynamic routing. The choice of the best route is in the hands of this protocol, but not your network administrator. And what are the examples of different routing protocols which we will be studying? We will be studying the RIP, which is basically your routing information protocol. Then we have OSPF, Open Shortest Path, and Border Gateway Protocol. Now, routers will share dynamic routing information with each other. So in the earlier case, we have seen that routers won't share the information, but in this case, routers will share information with each other, whether the router is down or a new router is added. The routers will share this information with each other. However, dynamic routing is capable of choosing a different path when there is a change to the routing infrastructure. So the disadvantage or the limitation of the static routing is covered in the case of dynamic routing. And usually for large networks, in today's world, dynamic routing is needed. So, and whenever we are talking about internet, it needs dynamic routing. The table needs to be updated as soon as there is a change in the internet. In the next class, we will be studying about unicast routing protocols.